Welcome to the iSpace Wellbeing Expert Talk Series, bringing you advice, tips, and great conversation about mental health and well-being in young people. iSpace Wellbeing is a free of charge, multi-award winning mental health and well-being solution for schools. Using a whole school, progressive and evidence-based approach, we make conversations about mental health and well-being flow naturally, both inside and outside of the classroom. Our fun, age-appropriate framework starts from 4 years old and covers all the key stages of a child's education. Schools choosing iSpace Wellbeing will not only give their teachers access to over 200 digital lessons, plans, and other resources, but also free CPD-accredited training. Why not join the growing number of schools around the globe who are choosing iSpace Wellbeing for their students' mental health and well-being education? For more information, visit iSpaceWellbeing.com.
There's so much that I want to talk to you about this evening because I've been looking on your website and I've been looking through your Instagram, and it's literally phenomenal with how much work, effort you've put into this and the experience over the years that you've accumulated. So before we kind of get into too much, would you be able to just give people a bit of backstory before you kind of got to creating iSpace Wellbeing?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, it just depends on how far back you want to go. um, well, sometimes when I'm doing talks for people, they always want to know your credentials and you list a long list of things that you've done throughout your career. But actually, if I really think about it and I reflect really hard, I know that the inspiration for what I do today probably came from my childhood. And when I was growing up and I was at school, I had lots of challenges with learning languages. And in Ireland, you have to learn three languages. You have to learn Irish, your Gaelic language. And for anybody who might be listening, you will understand that if you know anyone from Ireland, you'll know from their names like Siobhan and Neve and Cuiva and Surica, there is no phonics related to the Irish language. So, there is nothing there to help you to work out the spelling. And then you throw in English and you throw in French as well, and it all just became a little bit of a jumbled mess. And for me, I tried to hide it a lot, and just worked extra hard to try and cover it up and try and remember all of these words. And sometimes it would creep out though in the work that I would on scene work that I would do. And way back then, there wasn't Senkos in schools, special educational needs teachers, to spot when people had challenges with their writing or their reading or taking in all of these different languages. And so quite often I was either punished for making spelling errors or I was made fun of for the spelling errors that I made. So it was a really, really hard time going through school. And then when I was in my senior school, I experienced a little bit of bullying as well. And really that kind of generated from the fact that when I got to my senior school, I had become a perfectionist almost in the work, in my studies and my work, because I did not want the shame and embarrassment of the challenges that I was having. So I would just work extra, extra hard. And when I did that, I got recognized for doing really well. And suddenly, when you're getting noticed for doing really well, nobody's laughing at you anymore. And now the kind of green eyed monster creeps in. And so I did experience a little bit of bullying. Thankfully, though, I had a wonderful vice principal, so deputy head type teacher at my school, and I was 17 years of age when I first reached out for actual support and help from somebody at school. I had lots of support from family and friends of my family at home who I would share it with secretively almost. But at school, I didn't let anybody know that I was really, really hurting inside. And so this teacher helped me, was a wonderful inspiration in my life, and I later wanted to go on and really support and care for other people. And my mother was a nurse. She supported and helped me and wanted me to go into healthcare. My father was in business. He wanted me to do business. And my lovely teacher, the vice principal who helped me, felt I was going to be a teacher because he felt that I had those qualities. So, of course, me being me, as I journeyed through my career, I had to do all three. One of them would not be enough. So, I started off in healthcare because I had this passion to help other people. And and so I went to university in the UK. I came to the UK because I wanted to go to university, whereas in Ireland they were still training the old-fashioned way, just through the hospital, not going to university. I had a lovely aunt in the UK who was a head midwife over here, and she said, you know, you're going to end up doing your training in Ireland, and then they'll bring in the university degree, and then you'll have to reverse and go back and do that all over again. And knowing that this was going to be a challenge for me with my spelling, there was no way I wanted to do things twice. So my parents were amazing, and they bought me this word processor. You know, I was always used to carry a dictionary in my pocket so that I would never get caught out. But this back in 1994, the Brother 120 word processor was released. And it was like this little typewriter, but it had a tiny little digital screen on it, and it would print out all of your work. But that tiny little screen was a lifesaver for me because it did spell check. And so it got me through my university days. I went on then into the hospital sector, worked with children there. Very quickly discovered that within the general hospital sector, young people were, there definitely wasn't a parity of esteem between their physical and their mental health. So if you came in with a physical problem, you were very much triaged up the top. If it was a mental health problem, you were seen within the 10 minutes that you're supposed to be seen within an A&E department, but you may have to wait much, much longer, or you get admitted to the children's ward, and quite often these were adolescents. And so, you know, being admitted to the children's ward wasn't really the right place for these young people. And if their crisis happened on a Friday evening, there wasn't a lot of staff in the hospital at the weekend that could support and help them from a psychological point of view. So quite often they would sit and wait in children's wards and not really have anybody go to speak to them because everybody else felt, well, they're waiting for somebody else, not for us. And this I found really, really hard. So I went back to university to do a master's degree in pediatric nurse practitioning, and so that I could work autonomously on my own without a doctor. And I decided I was going to do my research on adolescents and their mental health issues and healthcare professionals' attitudes towards them. And out of that research, what came out of it was that attitudes were poor towards these young people. And this is from the people who participated in the study, the healthcare people who participated. And they felt that the reasons behind it all was a lack of knowledge and understanding of these young people. And this is probably because a medical model is a kind of fix-it model and very physically based. Whereas when I went through my general nursing practice, I always seemed to steer towards the mental health model of nursing. So therapeutic nurse-patient relationships was always the direction I took because it was an interest that I really had. And whereas many other nurses on the general nursing training would have gone down activities of living model, which is all very physically based. So so my research showed that there was this issue and the lack of knowledge and understanding, and that lots of services for young people were all very reactive. So I decided, okay, if I'm going to make a difference here, I'm going to have to come out of the healthcare sector and go into the educational sector and look at it from with another lens and look at it from a proactive, preventative point of view. So moved into the education sector, got involved in teaching, and this is where my deputy head's guidance came in that I was going to be a teacher. So I moved into the healthcare sector, into the education sector as a school nurse, but took on the teaching of the personal, social, and health education within a school that I was in. And I quickly discovered that through that, there really wasn't a proper structured education within this personal, social, health education sector that was in schools. It was very pick and mix. every teacher could do what they wanted. So every year group in every school was all getting a different education. And what I found from the young people that I worked with, that if it was pick and mix, there was no connection, and so they didn't remember it really well. So when they were leaving school, despite the fact that they had these lessons every week, they couldn't tell you what they actually learned, because or they may have remembered the last three lessons, but they couldn't really remember anything before that. And if you ask parents, what do you think of the PSHE curriculum in your school, or do you know anything about PSHE in your school? The feedback always really was, oh, I don't really know anything. What is that? It's just a filler. And wouldn't it be better if they did more maths? So, we were missing out on a really special part of the curriculum. There was a really good time set aside for PSHE, and we weren't making it beneficial to the young people or to the teachers themselves. So I decided, okay, this is it. I'm going to have to do something about this. And I decided that I would go to this brilliant conference that was advertised in London about mental health in schools. It was the first one. I thought, oh, this is great. We're really, making a difference, and there's going to be great change. So off I went up to London, very excited, and got there and just again heard about all of these reactive approaches, or just talking about all of the shortfalls that we were experiencing in terms of CAMS not having enough people, services to provide for the young people and their mental health issues, the social services overrun, any other services that like counselling services not having the appointment times available for 8 weeks, 8 months, 18 months. And so we were discussing all of these things, but nobody really was coming up with a solution. So I felt, given my healthcare knowledge from the hospital sector and what I could see happening there, given my knowledge of what was happening in schools, on the way home on the train, I decided, okay, this is it. Start doodling. So I started doodling away, and I call it my J.K. Rowling moment, where by the time that train pulled in at Haywards Heath, where I live, I had a really good idea as to what I was going to create. I had the concept, I had the theme, I had the name, and I had my lovely doodled little planets for iSpace well-being. And within a couple of months, I created a business, because I felt that if I was going to make mental health as a par to physical health, then I was going to have to bring it up a notch and bring it into the business sector, so that I could have lots of investment come in, so that we could create something that was sustainable and that could show these young people that we have invested in their mental health. We are going to change the look of mental health for you. We're not going to bring you pictures of people holding their head in their hands anymore. We're not going to bring you black and white, sketchy, scary drawings. We're going to bring you something bright, colourful, meaningful, child-friendly, and any of the products that we create has a sensory feel to it as well. They're very silk, all the edges are taken out. And we're going to bring mental health up to a parity of esteem with physical health. And I felt, created the Nike to mental health in creating iSpace Wellbeing. So that was my dad's part of me came in then. That was the business brain. And so I got all three: healthcare, teaching, and business. So I'm out there now, got this creation, piloted it in the school that I was working within, piloted it in another school. And then after about a year, I felt, yeah, we're really ready. And we launched it out to other schools. 11 schools came on board straight away. And when the pandemic hit, we just felt that, because it was a paid for service initially, because we needed funds to come in to really create the product that we wanted. So the money came back in, put it into the product so that it could keep improving. But when the pandemic hit, I had to reevaluate, really, because when I started what I started, I wanted to do it for every child, because we all have a mental health, and every child should therefore benefit from a quality mental health and well-being education. So I quickly understood that when it was a chargeable service, there was a barrier to getting it to entry into schools because the budgets for schools are really poor, and there's lots of different areas that they need to spend it in. So when the pandemic hit, I said, okay, what are we going to do? Because let's remove this barrier. If we can remove this barrier, we can support and help thousands and thousands of children, and we can follow our mission that we will support and help every child. So I was very lucky. A very straight away, we had lots of philanthropic interest in what we were doing. They could see that we were a new brand of business. You know, we were for profit to create something sustainable and high quality, and to bring mental health up to a parity of esteem of physical health. Um, and they could see that we were doing social good. So we were very lucky to get this investment, and we then launched it free for every school in the UK and across the world. And we've been inundated with schools signing up, and have had such wonderful feedback from schools as well, saying how quickly it's had an impact in their schools. And when we're thinking about a recovery plan for children at the moment, which has been so focused on their academic learning, if we can have this running, iSpace Wellbeing running alongside that, we're also catering for their mental health and well-being. And if it's having an immediate impact, we are supporting those children with this, recovery and return to school. So that really kind of is a theme train journey through what I've been doing, why I got to where I am today, and what I'm doing in schools today. And it's been a wonderful journey. And to the schools out there who are iSpace schools, the feedback that you are giving us week by week from your young people, showing us the work that they are doing, giving us the stories about how they've used our tools or our language, either at school or at home. It really is wonderful to see. And we do try and write to any school that sends us something from their children, we try and write back and give them a personalized certificate or a personalized thank you, to really celebrate them for what they're doing and how they're putting these self-care tools into practice to look after themselves. So it's really great.
This is phenomenal. Like, honestly, it's music to my ears. The fact that you've gone to so much depth and you've considered every aspect of a child's learning and the different kind of characters that children bring to school as well. Not everybody learns visually, auditory, is touch sensitive as well. So where were you pitching it first of all? Was it always kind of like senior school, or was it the primary sector first? Which came first?
Yeah, so the primary sector came first, and what we did was like we've designed all these lovely characters that go with our space theme, and all of the things that you find in space, we've related them to this curriculum and to the language that children could use to explain what they're experiencing in terms of their thoughts and their feelings. So asteroids, for example, we talk about asteroids as the things that hit us unexpectedly. And we have a lovely visual to go with this as well. So the children in iSpace schools might talk about, I've been hit by an asteroid today. And straight away, we all know something unexpected happens. It's caused you a really lot of upset, and it's just thrown you off course for your day. And so let's sit down, have a chat, let's listen and hear about what you're feeling and what happens. And it could be you got a result of a test, and it wasn't what you were looking for. It could be that friend said something that you weren't expecting and it really hurt your feelings. Or it could be just being corrected by a teacher for forgetting something or not having something or whatever that might be. Or it could be even in the morning coming in the car and, having those conversations we have with our kids at the very last minute, and we don't get to finish them, and it feels like we've fallen out with each other and you've had to start your day like that. So we use words like that. We have little characters, little alien type characters called niggles and stressors. Our niggles are the our little things, and the stressors are the big things. And if we bring these two characters in to help the children kind of role play where they're sitting in terms of big worries, little worries, we can really understand it through the eyes of the child and through the experience of the child. Because what I have teachers tell me, and even in my own practice, because all of these tools help me in the work that I do with children. And what I quite often find was that sometimes we evaluated what the child was experiencing or feeling. And they'd tell us the story, and we'd say, oh, that's really small. That's nothing to really worry about. Here's a tip or a tool, and off you go. But now you're hearing it from the child's point of view. No, this isn't a niggle. This is a stressor. Doesn't matter what it is to you as an adult. To me, it's this great big thing. And sometimes the children will say, it's not just a stressor, it's a niggle and a stressor together. It's like it's super huge. And so it gives us a completely different way of looking at things through the eyes of the child. And so we started in the primary sector so that we could create this, this well-being galaxy that the children could explore through the theme of space. And the pre-prep sector, we quickly realized that they needed something completely different to the primary sector. They needed to learn everything through stories and rhyme. Rhyme is really important in the early years. And so we've got stories, we've got rhyme, we've got characters. So now we've got neuroplasticity creeping in because we've got lots of different directions that learning is coming from, and memory is being really, embedded in this child because they've got lots of different ways to pull on this knowledge. So that's where we started off with for the pre-prep. Lovely little stories about the planet well-being, where these little characters live, and they can explore all of these concepts through rhyme and through these characters and stories. Then when the children get up to year 3, we decided that's when they're going to come off our lovely planet well-being, and they're going to explore all the other planets of our galaxy. There are 10 planets in total. And so they, get in their rocket and off they go, and they explore all of these planets. And what we wanted to happen when the children got to year 3 was that this is now, it's a curriculum. It's going to grow with the child. So it's going to be continuous and progressive. It's going to be every week, and every week you will travel around this galaxy, learning all the different concepts and all the different planets. And then when you move up to year 4, year 5, and year 6, you have moved up a level each time. So it gets more and more advanced as you go. And so if you wanted to relate it to maths, when you're down in the pre-prep, you're learning 1 plus 1. When you're leaving, if you leave at year 8 or year 6, you're up at your equations. And that's the same way that this curriculum grows with the child. So we introduced loads of active learning into the primary school curriculum. So we've got children up and moving and exploring and questioning and really learning together from their peers as well as being, given knowledge. We give them the knowledge, and then we draw it back out then from their point of view. And then once we completed that, can't stop there. There's more children. We have to keep going. So we then decided, okay, when we get to the adolescent years, so iSpace goes up to year 6. And then when we get to the adolescence, that puberty time, we want to show that we've recognized that they are changing. So we wanted to almost create a completely different curriculum. So it's almost like them, the caterpillar, the chrysalis, the butterfly, and we're going to recognize it by giving it a completely new, different look and feel. And so we created a new curriculum called #IWonder. And the #IWonder curriculum has a mountain range theme. We called it #IWonder because we have a search engine through the hashtag, and adolescents are searching for themselves, trying to find their identity, trying to find their independence. And the I wonder bit is the questions they're asking about themselves all of the time. I wonder if. And funny enough, the parents and the teachers are also saying the same thing. I wonder if. Yeah. And so that's what we created. And then the mountain range really, we felt suited them because we wanted to look at their world through trying to navigate a journey. So when we introduced the concept of this curriculum to them, we talk to them as imagining themselves as a mountaineer. You know, what would you need as a mountaineer to be able to climb Mount Everest, for example? Well, you're going to need to prepare. And if you've done the iSpace curriculum, well, you've prepared now. If you've done the iSpace curriculum, you also have your tools, lots of tools already gathered, and you're going to need tools to climb Mount Everest. You're also going to need a team. So you're going to need your peers. They're going to need to be with you too. And you need to be able to problem solve. And we've done lots of that through the iSpace Wellbeing curriculum, and we're going to develop that even further. And you're going to need a compass. And this is the main tool for the hashtag I Wonder curriculum. They are going to navigate their journey. They're going to navigate these 4 mountain ranges, which stand for 4 different concepts of their health. So physical, social, emotional, and mental. And you're going to use this well-being compass tool to help you to navigate. You're going to put all your iSpace tools into that compass. There's a particular icon on this compass tool that is for resources, and all of that is going to go in there. And we're going to explore the rest of this compass to help you to develop further. And so that's what we've created for the teenagers, and that now goes up to GCSE. And of course, knowing the way I work, I probably will be working my way through A levels during the latter part of this year as well. So yeah, that's where we are.
Oh, literally, I've got tears in my eyes because I wish I had this curriculum when I was growing up. Literally,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And I just want my children to experience this because it sounds to me just so well-rounded. It's allowing conversation between peer to peer, adult to peer, adult to child, teacher to child, parent to teacher.
Yeah.
So you've got that whole circle or triangle of people that are all on the same page. They know where the curriculum's coming from. They know how it's moving, and it sounds very fluid.
Yeah.
And engaging, and you know, of all the ages, it's just phenomenal. You had a massive download on that train, by the way.
I did. I had a massive download. But like, you know, I've had lots of lovely people helping me along the way and motivating me along the way. But I did want to create something that had a whole school approach, which is what you've just described in that triangle. A whole school approach changes culture. A whole school approach can break down stigma, and they are 2 very important things to me. And what we did was, when we created the curriculum, we knew that we had to engage parents as well, because it is really important to involve the home. It's great that we teach these children this lovely language in schools, how to regulate their behavior, how to use mindfulness, how to understand their brain science. But if the parents at home don't understand that, then they can't, you know, transition from school to home and be able to co-regulate with the people around them. So we created a toolkit that could also be used outside of the PSHE lesson time, but in, you know, the break times with a teacher, or break times with their friends, so that they can work things out together. And then parents could then also purchase this toolkit, because the toolkit is purchasable, because these are things we have to print over and over and over again, but our curriculum is free to all. And so the parents could purchase this toolkit, bring it home, and then they're learning with the child as well. So now we have parents learning about brain science, understanding when their child is in flight, fight, flight, or freeze, having a tool to be able to top trump fight, flight, and freeze, which we call our breathe brain. And it brings in mindfulness, it brings in lots of different breathing techniques. iSpace itself stands for, you know, it's derived from mindfulness. It breaks down into I, stop, pause. When we pause, we breathe, and calm everything. So that's the ISPACE. I, stop, pause, and calm everything. And that in itself is a prompting tool. We use the rocket as well as a self-regulation tool. So imagining a rocket taking off, a rocket landing. How do you what fueled your rocket emotionally to take off? What could you do maybe through breathing to bring that rocket back down to land? And so all of these things we're teaching the children in school. We can bring it to the home, and through the toolkit, the parents can learn all of this at home as well. And it has had an amazing difference, especially when you teach people about brain science and they can recognize themselves in the brain science. Even teachers through this have learned so much, so that they're understanding that when our brain feels under threat, we go into our survival mode and we go into that fight, flight, freeze. And we're either going to choose to run away or we're going to choose to fight. But if we haven't got those choices, and sometimes children don't have those choices, they're standing in front of a teacher or a parent or whoever it is, and they're taking correction, and they can't just run off, and they can't bop the teacher or the parent or whoever it is on the head. So they sometimes can go into this freeze zone. And when they're in the freeze zone, we need to understand that they might not look us in the eye, that they might not be able to answer us. They might smirk or they might nervously laugh. And it's sometimes not something they have control over. It's because that's where the threat is putting them in that moment. So it's about rethinking, watching that, recognizing that when that happens, and the work on co-regulating with the child, and then discussing whatever it is that is going on. And you'll get much, much better results by doing it that way.
Incredible. So the teachers are also being taught as well. So do you have a curriculum for the teachers first? They go through the training and how to deliver it?
Yeah, so I designed free teacher training, CPD accredited, continued professional development accredited, free teacher training to go along with this curriculum. It talks about mindfulness, it talks about brain science, it talks about how to use every single tool that is in this curriculum. And what the teachers have, quite a few teachers have fed back to me, is that when they're not just through the training, but also through every lesson that they do, that there's always something, a takeaway in it for the teacher, and to be able to take home to their own family as well. So, that's just wonderful to hear from people too, because we have to remember that teachers are amazing. They've been heroes of this pandemic as well as our NHS staff, and they have had to learn completely new skills, IT skills, very, very quickly, almost overnight. They have been absolutely phenomenal. And so what we want to be able to do is to be able to support and help them as well. So when we design the curriculum, we've got a section for teacher knowledge for every lesson that they're teaching. And so they can learn as they go as well. And they can certainly bring stuff with them home to their own families, and just feel that they're having a little bit of self-care as well. And so they are being supported as well.
That's fantastic. So, my gosh, my brain is literally exploding right now with I want every school in my area to know about you, and I'm going to be sending lots and lots of emails this evening.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's interesting because talking about the teachers and the stress and the pressure that have been over the last year, and parents as well, having to start home learning and being there doing their jobs as well whilst their children are at home. And that brings a lot of pressure, and it's like a pressure cooker. I know our house at times has felt like a pressure cooker. You're just I don't know how to manage everyone's expectations, managing the school's expectations, managing my child's expectations, managing my own expectations, whatever they are. And it's just it can be a real hot mess. Yeah. So to have this within the school curriculum just allows the parents to be more aware. But also I feel as an adult, you forget what it's like to look at the world through teenage eyes, through young eyes of under 10s. The development we expect, I think, sometimes, a lot of times, for them to see things how we see them. And I think it's really integral to remember, actually, they haven't got that rational thought as much. They haven't got that processing of working out the dangers. It's very much reactive, isn't it?
Absolutely. And what you said is so important. Having self-awareness is it's a really important thing, because when we're in a situation, whether we're either correcting our children or whatever it is that might be going on, and they're in a heightened state, the only way that we can bring them down is that if we remain calm. We want them to mirror what we are doing. If we bring ourselves up here with where they are, then we're not actually going to get anywhere. But so if we have a self-awareness of ourselves, and think about, if we think about a little child and we're up here and they're down here in size, what are they seeing? They're already seeing threat. Um, and so we want to put ourselves in their shoes and see things. What are they seeing right now? What are they hearing? What's my tone of voice? Um, what's my facial expressions? All of those things. If it's not something that's going to be calming and soothing for that child, then we're actually not really going to get anywhere. So just bring in that self-awareness first. Maybe remember to sit down rather than stand up over them. Sit down, bring yourself down to a level where they feel it's safe. Um, and it makes such a difference. It really, really does. And I certainly learned that from a very, very early stage through my nursing career, that whenever I was talking with children, I have to remember that they're already scared coming into a hospital environment. The smells, the noise, the things that they're seeing happening with other people around them as they walk into a hospital setting, the uniforms, what they might have already experienced outside of hospital, watching on television or seeing in the newspaper in relation to healthcare. So we were always taught in pediatrics. We had wonderful play therapists as well in hospitals, and child psychologists and things like that too. So I've always been very lucky to work in a multidisciplinary team. But we always knew that you bring yourself down to the level of the child, speak to the child as well as the parent. Don't just speak over the child and to the parent. So get yourself down on their level, soft tone of voice, and just really try to be calming for that child. When you do that, what happens really is, when we think of brain science, you're calming that amygdala part of the brain, which is where the fight, flight, freeze part is. And you're allowing this prefrontal cortex, front part of the brain, where you can think and make decisions, and problem solve. That part of the brain starts to open up and be a bit more in control. Usually our amygdala, our little fight, flight, freeze brain, and our prefrontal cortex thinking brain works quite nicely together, but and communicates nicely together. But when that threat is around, we can be hijacked by that amygdala. And so we have to allow that time to calm down so that we can get back into the prefrontal cortex part of that child's brain to help them to see things as what's happened, problem solve with them, and help them make good decisions going forward. So you think about what you are doing at the time that you're trying to get the best from the child, but they may be in that fight, fight, freeze part of their brain. And we need to change that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. The way you just described that was absolutely brilliant. And I think there's going to be a lot of adults that actually it makes, when you don't understand, or when you're not taught about the way the mind works, the brain works, and the chemistry, and when it does get hijacked, that was such a great way of explaining that even an adult, when we're in fight and flight and we're having like a major kind of panic attack, even your rational thought is totally out. You think something, you're catastrophizing on a major scale.
Yes.
So even allowing yourself to, okay, step back, it's okay. In this moment, I am okay. There isn't an immediate threat, even though my mind is thinking there is.
Yes.
So even just taking that breath and sitting down and allowing that moment to calm.
Absolutely.
EFT as well. So tapping, using tapping points and the meridians to help neutralize and calm down as well. So it's allowing children to understand that as well. It's empowering them. It's giving the power back.
Absolutely. It really is. And tapping, I think tapping is amazing. I've taught children tapping. It's not part of the curriculum, but I do teach it to the children. And it can make a big difference. And, like as you say, adults, we can be hijacked by the amygdala as well and go straight into that fight, flight, or freeze. And little tips to get you out of that is exactly saying to yourself, there is no threat here. If you can say that, it's kind of telling that amygdala brain, no, this is okay. You don't need to be on high alert. Everything is safe. Stand down.
Yeah.
And that can really help. Or it's that taking those deep breaths. And really, lots of people, when you hear talking about mindfulness, they think, okay, mindfulness, I've heard a bit about this, but it's not for me. It's this breathing thing. It's da, 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 or I tried it once and it didn't work. But it's like you can't, if we compare it to our physical health, you can't walk into the gym on the first day and expect to walk out with the six pack. You have to exercise the brain by using these techniques, make it stronger, and then you'll start to notice the differences. But if you feel that you're ever being hijacked by your fight, flight, freeze, if you can just say to yourself, stand down, there is no threat here. Of course, unless there is a threat, if you are going to be run over by a bus, you do want to run.
Yeah.
But if there is
sure.
no threat, but your brain thinks that there is, you telling yourself, stand down, it's okay, this is safe. And then taking some deep breaths. Because what you're doing when you take a deep, in through the nose, then long and slow out through the mouth, almost completely emptying, what you're doing is you're stimulating the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve runs from your brain all the way down through your body and branches out to your heart, into your gut. And it's very calming. It helps to calm that body down, lowers cortisol, lowers the adrenaline, and brings you into a more relaxed zone, allowing your prefrontal cortex to open up and to say, okay, I know what I'm doing here. I know what's going on, and helps you to see things differently. So for example, in yoga, the deep breathing exercises in yoga are great. They stimulate that vagus nerve and help your body to calm down, parasympathetic nervous system.
Fantastic. Do you know, I've taken you over time. So sorry.
Sorry.
There's so much more I could talk to you about, honestly. Just so before we end, how can people get their schools involved? So would they send your information to the school, or would they get the school to contact your business?
So what the schools can do is they can go to our website, which is www.ispacewellbeing.com, and at the very top of the first page has register here or just register. So we want schools to go there, click that button, and in you go.
Amazing. And it's all free for the schools?
The curriculum is all free to the school. So there must be, I think by the end of this term, there'll be over 200 lesson plans within that, from pre-prep all the way up to GCSE, there for teachers to use to support and help their young people. And if people want to have a toolkit, you can purchase the toolkit from the website shop. And there's also a lovely story there for probably up to our 8-year-olds it's called Have You Ever Had a Stressor? And it teaches our young children how to manage their stressors, how to explore their thoughts, how to explore their feelings, and to understand that there are lots of other people experiencing these thoughts and feelings as well. You're not alone.
Oh my gosh, I just love you. I want to work for you.
Oh, well, everybody's welcome to come and let us know if they're interested in working for us, because we just want to get out there and help as many children as we can. We've got an ambition that we are going to support over 50 million children by 2030, and we're making really good headway already. We are in lots of countries outside of the UK now as well. And we just want to raise awareness, really. Yeah. And it's lovely to be invited on here tonight, because lots of times with schools, it is about word of mouth with schools. You can do advertising and lots of other things, but schools like to have recommendations, and they like to hear from other people. And I think that this is wonderful. So for people listening out there, if you can direct your schools to our website, if you like what you've heard this evening and you'd like your children to learn on the iSpace Wellbeing curriculums, then yeah, head over to the website. We're there to help.
Brilliant. Paula, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough, honestly. It's been so informative. Thank you.
Oh, Caroline, thank you. And I love what you're doing with the acupuncture, and as you said, with tapping as well. Really, really useful tools. I know so many different people who've had so many different issues receive acupuncture, and it makes such a difference. So I'm in full support of what you are doing. And if I had the time, I'd probably want to train in acupuncture as well.
Really? Really? Oh my God. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a joy. It is a joy for sure. Just quickly about the CPD, is that purely for teachers, or can a therapist practitioner use it so they could use the tools within their therapy sessions?
We're just looking into that now, Caroline, and what we're going to do with that. It's maybe in the future that we will allow independent people to have access to the training and to the materials as well. We haven't fully decided what that package looks like yet, but we are being asked by lots of different professionals at the moment, so that's why we've just started exploring what we could do there too.
Brilliant. Just another thing to add to your to-do list.
Well, if it helps children,
exactly,
then we're going to do it.
Exactly. Paula, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you. And
thank you very much. And thank you for everyone who joined. And yeah, hope to see you on our website.
Lovely. Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Thank you so much. Bye, Caroline. Bye.
See you. Bye, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Good evening, people. This is always the awkward bit where there's like a time delay between people joining and me sitting here like a bit of a lemon, but hey ho. Hi, James. How are we all? Can I just say, sounding very British here, but what is going on with the weather? Oh my gosh, I love a bit of sunshine, and this weather is not doing my mental health any good whatsoever. Anyway, I digress. So this evening, I'm going to be joined by a very inspirational woman who is working